Okay, welcome everyone. As we welcome in Saba and Marshall Castle and Jay Siegel, Irving Fishbaum, Dr. Guy, Aaron Swade, Nachman Chapler, Ruvain Pollack, and Yitzi Fuchs, Moshe Lehman, Yitzi Muller, Ilya Schutten, Naftali Javelin, Abe Arbach, David Helfgott on Kol Here in the shul, we have the pleasure of having Barish Gesselman, Reb Kramer, Reb Avram, and Ruvain Shanet. We're sponsored by A.B. Spry for the nachas from his entire family. We're also sponsored by Michal Avram Chavin. First of all, we learned from Michal Avram, who had cataract surgery today. Michal Avram ben Iris. He should have a refuah shalem and b'ser sheikhah Yisrael. He's also learning that we should all finish Shas with gesund. We also learned from my mother, who's having a procedure tomorrow, Esther Fradel Baschana. She should have a refuah shalema b'ser sheikhah Yisrael. We are holding by Tojma the last two words on the bottom of Lamed Beis and Beis. Today we finish Elam Metzias. I, for one, will be sad to leave this very interesting parak, but we move on in Shas and go to new pastures, new horizons, as we welcome in Shimon Klein, Shelley Zeitlin joining us, as people are just coming around here on this beautiful Monday evening to learn Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh b'dvaro. Here comes Shalom Fogel. Welcome Shelley, welcome Shalom, welcome Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg.
Rabbi, you remember Rabbi Rosenberg from the...
Yeah, I know. Joel passed away. I know. I heard. And Shama should have an aliyah. Was he old?
He was ill. He was ill.
He
was 63, Rabbi.
He was only 63.
Yeah, but he was ill for a while, yeah.
Ruvain, did I know him?
Not sure. He got by the Chabad. Well, yeah, he was mostly in Chabad, Rabbi Katzman.
So that I was wondering. My brother told me about it. I don't think I knew him.
Your brother was there.
I know. I was trying to figure out what was my brother's shaykhus with him.
Don't know.
It was interesting.
No children.
I wonder what my brother shah. Maybe he went to my brother's shir in the Young Israel.
Possible. Very possible.
Ben Zion Cohn has joined us. Richard Rosenzweig has just joined us as well. Welcome, Richard. So, bottom line of Daf Lamed Beis Amud Beis, Tojma. We're still trying to determine about Tzar Balei Chaim, whether the idea of avoiding pain for an animal is Doraisa or Dorabanan. So the Gemara says, let's take a look as we welcome in Sandy Grudenfeld, and a good evening to you as well, Sandy. As the Gemara tells us on the very top of Lamed Gimel Lamed Aleph, Roivates, it says that you have to unload the animal if it's sprawling. That means it collapsed under its burden. V'loi raftzon, not if the animal always goes down and lies down with the packages. Roivates v'loi oimei tachas masai, only if it's sprawling on the ground. Not if it's standing, but it's obviously struggling with the burden. V'loi mefurak tachas maso, and also you don't have to do it if it was unloaded and it just needs to be loaded, which the Gemara will explain shortly. That means that you don't have to do it for free, but you have to do it for pay. And finally, the tachas masai means masai sheyochel lamed bay. It's only if it had a burden that it was able to withstand. But if it was overloaded and it collapsed, you don't have to take it off. But wait a second. If we're concerned of Tzar Balei Chaim, v'yam Tzar Balei Chaim doraisa mali roivetz mali raftzon. Even if it goes down it normally goes down, but the bottom line is right now when it's on the floor, it's in pain. And what's the difference if it's standing while it's struggling? It's still in pain. Says, well, you're right. Hamani, this is clearly Rabbi Yossi Aglili. This is clearly the opinion of Rabbi Yossi Aglili. The Metzia Daf is only the Rabbanan. Our question is only whether the Rabbanan argue on Rabbi Yossi Aglili. And Achinami Mistavra, Diktani Tachas Masai, beneath its burden, Masi Sheyochel Lamed Bay, a burden that is able to withstand. Now, Man Shematle de Islay Haisvar, who holds that you only have to unload it if the owner didn't overload it. Rabbi Yossi Aglili, Shmamina. Says, but how can you say it's going according to Rabbi Yossi Aglili? Mimat says, Rabbi Yossi Aglili. V'ketani Seifa Tachas Masai, if it's beneath its burden, V'loy Mefurak, and not if it's unloaded. Now, my loy mefurak, what does it mean if it's not unloaded? Ilema loy mefurak klal, that you don't have to load it at all. How could that be? Haksiv hakim takimimai. Elab shita loy mefurak bechinam, you don't have to load it for free. Elab b'schar, you have to load it for pay. Man shmat le islay aisvara, who holds that for te'ina, to load it, you could get pay. Rabbana says, no, that's not a difficulty. La'aylam Rabbi Yossi Aglili. It's going according to Rabbi Yossi Aglili, who Tzar Balichaim is Rabbanan. Ubeteina, but that you could take paid for loading, Savalak Rabbanan. Rabbi Yossi Aglili holds like the Rabbanan. Ton Rabbanan. Ki sireh, when you see the chiyuv to load the chiyuv to because this kisir is actually said about bringing an animal back to its owner. I might think yochel afilu meirachik, even if you see it from a very far distance, you should have to go to it. Talmud lemi kisifka, when you bump into it. Iki sifka, I might think yochel pegia mamish, only if you actually bump into it, not if it's a block away. Talmud lemi kisira, even if you see it. The Ezui Ri'iyah Sheyesh Ba Pigia. What is seeing that is akin to bumping into it? In other words, what's a seeing that's close, that it's akin to mamish bumping into it? Shiaru Chacham, the Chacham said the amount is Echad Misheva Omachza b'mil, 1/7.5 of a mil. Vizehu ris, and that's the share of a ris. Who's over here mathematically inclined? Nobody wants to. Can somebody explain to me how 7.5% is 2/15? Nobody wants to take a stab at that, huh?
I don't go past the fifth. I'm sorry.
I know you plead a fifth.
Is that just a fraction?
I plead the fourth and I'll drink a fifth.
Come on, nobody out here?
2 over 15 is 1/7.5.
2/15 is 1/7.5?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
But 1/7.5 is not 7.5%.
That's right. It's not 7%.
No.
Fraction.
It's 7.5 over 100.
Right. Right. So it says over here that it's 1/7.5 of a mil. So is 1/7.5 the same as 2/15?
I'd say yes.
I'd say yes too.
1/7.5 is 1/7.5 is the same as 2. That's my hunch.
Well, it is. I'm trying to, I'm trying to figure out how to calculate that.
Well, it's easy, just get my,
No, not a calculator. So,
Double each number.
huh?
1 over 7.5, you double each number. Double 1 is 2, double 7.5 is 15.
Difference between fractions.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's about.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. That's what I was missing. It's double each number. Correct. Very good. So 1 and 7.5 is 2/15. Thank you, Ruben. Thank you. That was what I was missing.
About 15%.
No, actually, 7.5 of something is 0.075. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's 7, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm talking about 7.5. Talking about
hundreds, so it's point.
1/7.
This will
You're
go
talking
back.
you're talking 1 over 7.5, you're not talking about 1/7.
Yeah, but you're talking about 7.5 of a mil.
I don't know.
So what does that mean?
So it means like 3/4 of it. 7.7.
No,
Right? Echad misheba o machza b'mil. 1/7.5 of a mil.
it's about 15% or something. It's 1 over 7.5. It's 1 divided by 7.5. That's what it is.
So 1 second. 2/15 is not 15%.
No, what's 2/15?
Half of 15.
No, what 2/15? What is 2/15? No,
1 over 7.5 is 2 over 15.
okay, so 2/15. What is that? 1/15.
Okay. All right. All right. Huh?
I double checked my calculator.
Now, but that is, thank you, Ruben. That was what I was trying to figure out in my head. You multiply them both by 2, it becomes 2/15. Yeah. So anyway, Tana, umada de imai, if you recover an animal and you reload it, you should accompany it ad parsa, up to a parsa, which is 4 mil, to see if it's going to collapse again. Amar Rabba bar bar Chana, but for accompanying it, v'noitel schar, you take schar. Yeah, Sandy Grunfeld said it's 13 1/3%. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you aren't far off. Yeah. Okay.
If he loads it up, he should load it up properly, so why should he have to walk with it?
Well, the idea is that this is an animal that obviously had some weakness. Because don't forget, this is a load that it should be able to tolerate.
Right.
Now, the next Mishnah is a famous Mishnah, Avedasai v'Avedas Aviv. If you have to recover your lost article and your father's lost article, so the din is Chayecha Kaidem. Your life comes first, so Avedasai Kaidemis, your lost article comes before your father's lost article. Similarly, Avedasai v'Avedas Rabba, your lost article and your Rebbe's lost article, Shaloi Kaidem. Yours comes first. What about Avedas Aviv, Avedas Rabbi? If it's your father's lost article and your Rebbe's lost article. Shall Rabbi Kedemis, your Rebbe's come first. Why? Shall Aviv Evi Mazeh. Your father brings you into this world. But the Rabbi Shalim Dai Chachma, but your Rebbe that teaches you wisdom, brings you into the next world, which is eternity. However, the Im Aviv Chacham, but if your father is also a Chacham, then shall Aviv Kedemis. Then your father's Aveda comes first. Aviv Rabbi Noisim Masui, if your father and your Rebbe are both carrying a weight, Maniach shall Rabbi, first you relieve your Rebbe, who brings you into Olam Haba, V'achkach maniach el sha'aviv, and then you relieve your father from the burden. If your father and your Rebbe is in captivity, Poides Rabbi, you redeem your Rebbe first, but again, Vim Aviv Chacham, if your father is a Chacham also, then Poides Aviv, you redeem your father first, Poides Rabbi, and then you redeem your Rebbe. So the Gemara first asks, how do you know that you go before your father, you go before your Rebbe? Not immediately. Not that there should not be poor. And we learn out from the extra word ephes that you should ensure that you shouldn't become impoverished. You have to make sure that you don't become impoverished. But Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rav, if a person is always makbid, I can't give tzedakah because I might become impoverished, and I can't help this one because I might become impoverished. If one always upholds his needs first, at the end he will end up becoming impoverished. Rahman al-Litzlan. If his father and his Rebbe was carrying a burden. Now, when it says your Rebbe, what is included in the person being your Rebbe? Tan Rabban and Rabbi Sha'amru, the Rebbe that we're talking about, is Rabbi Shalomdai Chachma, is your Rebbe who teaches you Gemara. Chachma, Gemara is called Chachma because it teaches us to reconcile all the contradictions and the cryptic statements in Mishnah. V'loi shalamdoi mikro Mishnah. Not if he just taught you Chumash and Mishnah. It's different Rameir. That's the opinion of Rameir. Rabbi Yehuda says, when it says a Rebbe, it means your Rabbi Muvik. Kol sheroiv chechmasa yehemenu. That the majority of your wisdom comes from him. Rabbi Yaisi says, Afil loiher enov ela b'mishnah achas, even if he illuminated your eyes about the explanation of one Mishnah, Zel Rabbi, he's also your Rebbe. He taught you one thing. Amar Rava, Kagain Rav Schaira, like Rav Schaira, the Asbron Zuama Listran. He explained to us that in the Mishnah in Kalim, it talks about a Kali called Zuama Listran. And he explained that this was a ladle that removed the soot from the soup. You know, when you make a soup, afterwards you remove the fat from the top of the soup, the soot. And there was a keli that they used to remove it. Shmuel, similarly, karamani, he tore clothing. When the person died, he considered this person his Rebbe for what? Aleyahum Rabbanan de Asbere, who explained the Mishnah in Talmud to him. In the Mishnah in Talmud it says that when they entered into the temple, there were two keys. Echad yored la'amas hashechi. One you had to insert by bringing your hand all the way to the armpit. The echad peiseach kiven, and one you opened directly. Now, this man who Shmuel tore Kriya over explained to Shmuel that first there was a door that didn't enter from the ulam, from the antechamber. There was a door that entered into a ta. Remember we said ta was a wing on the side of the Beis Hamikdash. And in order to get there, there was no key on the outside of the door. There was a hole, and you had to stretch your hand in all the way to the armpit and then turn it and open it from the inside. So you had to put your arm all the way to the armpit. Then, after you got into the into the small room, then from there was another door that you opened directly, and that got you into the Kodesh proper. Amar Ula, Talmidei Chacham shebeBavel oimdim zeh mipnei zeh. The scholars of Bavel stood up one for another. V'koren zeh al zeh, and they taught Kriya for one another when one passed away. However, le'inyan aveda b'makam aviv einon chayzin, but a lost article, to overstep their father's lost article, they only gave precedence el Rabbi Muvik, like Rabbi Yehuda, for their primary Rebbe. Kabay minei Rav Chisda Rav Huna, Talmud v'tzarech loy Rabbi Mai. Rav Chisda asked Rav Huna, a disciple who the Rebbe needs. Now this means that although the Rebbe teaches the disciple, but the disciple learns by other big Rebbeim, and the Rebbe needs him. Now Rav Huna thought that Rav Chisda was implying about himself that he needs his Talmud Rav Chisda. Amalei Chisda Chisda, Loi tzarich nalach, I don't need you. At tzrichas li ad arban shnin, you'll need me for 40 years. So ikbid adadi, they were makbid on one another. Rav Huna was makbid that Rav Chisda indicated that he would need him, and Rav Chisda was makbid that Rav Huna suspected him. And they didn't go to one another. Yosef Rav Chisda arbon tanisa, Rav Chisda fasted 40 fasts, mishum the cholish daite Rav Huna, because Rav Huna was slighted and he felt bad. And Yosef Rav Huna arbon tanisa, and Rav Huna afterwards fasted 40 fasts, mishum the chosh Rav Chisda, because he suspected Rav Chisda. Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef Amar Rav Yochanan, Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef said in the name of Rav Yochanan, halacha ka Rav Yehuda. The law is like Rabbi Yehuda, that the only one that takes precedence over a father is one who is your Rabbi Muvik. Rav Acha bar Rav Huna Rav Sheshes halakha Rabbi Yosi, that even if he teaches you one thing, like Zuam Alisteron, says Gemara, Mi Amar Rabbi Yochanan Hachi, that it's your Rebbe who teaches you Rav Chachma. Amar Rabbi Yochanan halacha k'stam Mishnah. The halacha is like an anonymous Mishnah, but Tanan. And in our Mishnah it says, Rabbi Shalom Doi Chachma. That sounds that the Rebbe just teaches him wisdom, not the majority of wisdom. Says the Gemara, no, Rabbi Yochanan will learn when it says Chachma, my Chachma, Rav Chachma, the majority of his wisdom. Tan Rabbanan, 4 lines from the bottom of Daf Lamed Gimel Lamed Al, just getting underway on a day where we will finish Eilu Metzias. As I said, I'll be sad to see this fascinating perek go. I could have used another 100 blot like this, but we take whatever Hashem gives us. Tan Rabbanan, ha'oskim b'mikra, those that learn Chumash, Midah, I mean it's good to learn the Word of God, but for Einay Midah, it's not the best. Because you see, in those days, we needed people, since the Torah was still Baal Peh, we needed people to preserve that which was not written down. The Chumash was written down. The Mishnah, if they learn Mishnah, Midah, it's a good measure, and his reward. But Gemara, which explains the Mishnah, Ein lach Midah gedayla mezut. There's no measure greater than this. You should run to Mishnah more than the Gemara. So the Gemara says that's a contradiction. There's nothing better than it. And then it says, run to the Mishnah more than the Gemara. So Amar Rabbi Yochanan, as we turn to Lamed Gimel Lamed Beis, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Bimei Rebbe Nishnas Mishnazu. This was taught in the days of Rebbe. You see, until Rebbe, the Mishnayos was by heart. However, because of persecution, there was a fear that we would not retain all of the oral law if it wasn't put down on paper. So we darshan Eis Las Ois Lashem Eiferu Seirazecha. You have to understand that it was preferable that the oral law should not be written down. Because if the oral law was not written down, first of all, it wouldn't get into the hands of the goyim, and they wouldn't be able to pervert it and use it against us. And also because if the oral law wasn't written down, the only way that you could learn is with a Rebbe. See, when it's written down, you could learn yourself and learn wrong. If it's not written down, the only way you'll be able to learn it is if you have a Rebbe. That was the preferable thing, that people should have a Rebbe. However, because of persecution, it wasn't possible, so therefore it needed to be consigned. Now, at that time, all the sages were tasked with working it out and resolving all types of contradictions and arguments so they could formulate the Mishnah. So everybody ran to learn Gemara. So Shafku Kuli Alma Masnisen, everybody forsook learning the basic laws, Va'azlu Basa Gemara, and were involved in the analytics to see who we paskin like and what should be included. So therefore Rebbe wanted to swing back the pendulum that people should learn Mishnah and have the basic knowledge. Run to the Mishnah more than the Gemara. My Darish, what did he expound? Kididarish Rabbi Yehuda Bar Eloi, my Dichsiv, Higid la'ami pisham, tell my nation their sins, their rebelliousness, which implies willful sin, Ulebeis Yaakov chatasim, and the house of Yaakov their sins. Higid la'ami pisham elu talmidei chacham. These are the scholars. Sheshgogos nasu lahem kizdainis. Their errors are considered willful. A Talmid Chacham, if he didn't apply himself correctly and came up with the wrong conclusion, although it was a mistake, but it's considered a grievous error like it's done willfully. Ulebeis Yaakov chatasam, elu ha'amei ha'aretz, these are the ignorant people, shezdoinais nasis lehem kishgagis, that even their willful sins is like an error because they don't understand, they don't have the ability, they don't have the wisdom to understand their crime. Be careful when analyzing Gemara, sheshigigis Talmud, even a mistake, since it has such repercussions, it's considered like a willful sin. Dorish Rabbi Yehuda Bar Eloi, Maidu Siv, Shimu Devar Hashem, hearken to the words of Hashem, Hachareidim El Devaro, you who tremble at his words. So Elu Talmidei Chacham, these are the Torah scholars who, as we said, they understood that they should be fearful about their conclusions. Amru Acheichem, your brothers say, Elu Balei Mikra, these are people that learn Chumash. Now, people that learn Chumash, they don't clash in their learning. So they're like brothers. Mandechem, Son Echem, your enemy, Elu Balei Mishnah. These are those that learn Mishnayos. They are the enemies of those that learn Gemara, because it says that if you paskin for Mishnayos, you're considered a Mavlei Ha'olam, a destroyer of the world. So therefore they hate the people that learn Gemara. Mandechem, those that cast you away, Elu Amei Haaretz, those are the ignoramus. They feel looked down upon, and therefore they cast away the scholar. Shema Toimer Posak Sivram Ubatal Zichuyam, you might say that the Amoritz, his future is terminated, and his hope is naught, because look, he casts away the scholar, Talmud Leimer, Venira b'simchaska, and they will see in your joy. Says the Gemara, Shema Toimer, maybe you'll say, when it says, Yisrael Yevaishu, maybe it will say that there will be Jews that will be ashamed, and that'll refer to the Amaratzim, maybe to the Bali Mishnah. They, meaning the Goyim, they will be ashamed. This is a very promising Gemara. Like it says that La'asid Lavai, the Rabbeinu Shalom will be Mekabetz Nidchei Amo Yisrael. He will gather those that were pushed away of the Amo Yisrael. Believe the Eilas Tamid writes on that you should have Kavanah over there, that Hashem should bring back all the children, what we call off the derech, or more recently, they don't even call these children off the derech, they call them kip. Kip means kids in pain, suffering complex trauma, and the like. Right, Marshall?
I have no idea.
Okay. That's what they all say. You look good in red, Marshall.
Well, thank you.
You do. That's what they wear before they take them out to hang people, right?
I was thinking from the Maisa Behema, I got the red paint slapped on.
Okay. Yeah, the Behema part fits very good. The Maisa is...
Watch out when you come to Chicago now.
You have one of those trap doors, right?
Right under the seat.
Yeah. It's next week. It feels like so far away. It's unbelievable. It's such a busy time of the year. Baruch Hashem. I have my mother very much on mind now. She has a hard day tomorrow. Yeah, we should all have her in mind. Esther Fadl Baschana. Should go easy for her.
On this last piece,
Yeah.
like any Jew that learns or tries to learn, there'll be part where that says Israel will rejoice.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it says even more than that. It says even in Amoritz. Amoritz doesn't even try to learn. It's a very promising Gemara. That's what I'm saying. It's a very promising Gemara. Hanru Lachelu Metzias, Hanru Lachelu Metzias, Hanru Lachelu Metzias. Now, Rabbi Isai, we needed Marshall. It's good to have you. Hamafkid Eitzel Chaveroi Behema Oikelim. If Irving deposits by Marshall an animal or utensils. Now, let's say Marshall was a Shomer Chinam. You know, he's watching it for free. He's a nice guy in an alternate universe. V'nignavu Aisha Avdu. And the animal or the utensils get stolen or lost. Now, he's potter if it gets stolen or lost. But he has to swear.
Again?
But Marshall is a man of integrity. He doesn't like to swear. V'loi ratza li shava. He doesn't want to swear. He says, swearing, I get very nervous to swear. Shari Amru, he could swear. Shari Amru, Shem Yechinum Nishba V'yaitze. He could swear and get off the hook. So he doesn't swear. Instead, he pays Irving for the animal or the utensil. Now, Marshall collects. Nimtza Ganav, if the thief is found, now the thief has to pay kefil. Marshall gets the kefil. Nimtza ganav mishalem tashlum kefil, or listen to this yield. Tavach u'macher, if the thief slaughtered it or sold it, mishalem tashlum arba v'chamisha. For a sheep it's 4 times, for an ox it's 5 times. Who gets the kefil? Who gets the 4 or 5 times? Lemi mishalem, lemi shapikad netzlek, to the one that the deposit was by. Marshall gets it, because since Marshall paid Irving, Marshall gets the windfall. However, if Marshall did the standard thing, nishba, if he swore, he says, sorry, Irving, I feel bad for you, but it was stolen, it was lost, and I'm a shemer chinam. So if he swore and he doesn't pay Irving, then nimtza ganav. If we find the thief, misham tashlumei kefil, tovach u'machar, if it's slaughtered or sold, misham tashlumei arba v'chamish. Who gets it? Irving gets it. Lemi mishal l'bala pikadon, the owner of the deposit, namely Irving. So the first question that right away hits the eye is, why does it have to say animal and utensils? Why does it have to give 2 cases? That bothered Marshall right away. I mean, so lama lei l'misnei behema, v'lama lei l'misnei kelim. Why does it say animal? Why does it say utensils? So the Gemara says simply tzricha. It's necessary. Di tana behema, if it says the case of the animal, havamina behema hu demakulei fela. Here, Irving is glad that if Marshall pays him and doesn't swear, he relinquishes to Marshall the kefil. You know why? Mishum denafish tilcha liyulei ulapuka, because he did extra work with the animal, bringing it in and taking it out every day. You know, you can't keep the animal in the house. So Marshall anyway did a lot of work with it. Aval kalim, but if he left Marshall a kaishel aliyo, Marshall didn't put himself out for it. Was sitting on his desk. Aval kalim denay nafish tirchayu, aimalay makanay kfela. Maybe Irving doesn't relinquish him the kef. On the other hand, the tana kalim, the utensils. You know, utensils, there isn't a possibility of a windfall. Okay, kefil is kefil. But by an animal, there's possibility of 4 or 5 times. I mean, that's a lot to give over to even a guy like Marshall. V'itana kalim have, I mean, kalim who demakulei kfela, that Irving relinquished him the kefil mishum l'loy nafish kiflau. It's not gonna explode to be 4 or 5 times as much. Aval behema the chitavach u'macher, if it would be a case where the thief slaughtered or sold it, misham tashlumi dal hey, it explodes to a huge amount. He doesn't relinquish to him that. Therefore, it needs to say both cases. Okay, Rabbi said tomorrow night, again, same time, same channel here at the Agudas Yisrael Beis Zev, as we learn the Perek HaMafkid, and now we're going to learn the Mishnah Yomis.